Hello, everybody. Again, for my psych students in Sensation and Perception, Term 2 this time in 2020. But for anybody who is interested, see if I can become less washed out. Today, I want to read from Daoist Classics by Thomas Cleary. This is volume 2. I think there are 5 volumes in this series. Been reading these for about 12 years, something like that. Spent maybe a little longer because I've spent about 11 or 12 years in volume 1. This one, it's second purchase. I tore the other one up and this one's coming apart. And then volume 2 and then volume 3 is around here somewhere. So I'm on volume 3 now, but I revisit things, and sometimes I revisit things because in these different volumes, because of things, conversations that I hear or get involved in, things that come up in the course. So this is reading is going to be from this book, Understanding Reality. This is one of 4 inclusions in volume 2 of the Daoist Classics by Thomas Cleary, whom I highly recommend as a translator. So let me just read a couple of bits by way of background, and some of that can get pretty dry and laborious, so I won't do much of that. So we're going to read from Understanding Reality, which is from the School of Complete Reality, which is a movement that came along in Daoism because there were things that were beginning, movements and people that were beginning to, I guess for lack of a better word, water down the teachings. And the teachings are effective, actually affect life. So the masters wanted to be sure that what is passed along was still the effective approach, because Chinese have observed the details of life and the subtleties and the subtle nature of life, how it works, how humans work. They've been known to be slow and quiet, still, spend time in meditation, and experience life and pneuma, the spirit, the wind, the air, which the Bible says you are the wind. You can look that up in John 3:8. You are pneuma. Today, scientists call pneuma energy. Only Taoists will even differentiate between energy and spirit. So let me read a few tidbits here by way of background. In Understanding Reality, this is in the introduction. Among practitioners were the Daoist of schools which came to be known by the name of Complete Reality. Complete Reality Taoism, which arose as a distinct movement between the 11th and 13th centuries, was concerned with the totality of experience and with furthering human progress in the realms of both conventional and ultimate truth. So they're speaking not from theoretical standpoints like many of the religious people I read in decades past. They're not walking their talk. They're speaking out of their already practiced walk. So this concern manifested itself accordingly in both social and mystical practices, as the followers of Complete Reality strove to encompass what they considered to be the essence of Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. The impact of Complete Reality Taoism was very powerful, and in some areas it superseded the aged and failing schools of Chan Buddhism, which for centuries exerted enormous influence on Chinese civilization. Understanding reality is one of the basic classics of Daoist spiritual literature. Alchemy is practiced in the complete reality school of Taoism. Chan Po Tuan lived from approximately 981 to 1082. He is considered the founder of the so-called Southern School of Complete Reality Taoism. Chang Po Tuan is spelled CHANG-PO-TUAN. And it said before that this type of school, this understanding of reality, began with the Eastern Han Dynasty in 23 Common Era. So Chang Po Tuan wrote it down. He is known as the author of Understanding Reality. So moving to the section within the introduction called Yin and Yang. Yin and Yang. There is a point made in the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching. And the Tao Te Ching is kind of the centerpiece of Taoism. And generally speaking, not always, and not every book is this, but my understanding is the Tao Te Ching is the centerpiece. It's a small book of 80 some chapters, 82 chapters, but they're, a paragraph, a long paragraph, a short paragraph. So the chapters are short. So just want to throw in that orienting idea. The same point, there's a point made in the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching. Quote, a path that can be verbalized is not a permanent path. Terminology that can be designated is not a constant terminology. This might be paraphrased by saying that there is always more than what can be encompassed by any formulation, whether that formulation be a word, a language, a system of thought, or a whole culture. This does not deny the relative validity or usefulness of any such tools. Rather, it affirms the existence of greater potential, the possibility of progress and freedom. Therefore, complete reality Daoist teaching does not say that mundanity or conditioning is evil, only that it should be a servant rather than a master. From this standpoint, mundane conditioning is not bad per se. It is the source of what is bad, the suffocation of the organic living potential of the individual and community. One advantage of being able to stand aside from the mundane and recover the awareness of the unconditioned primordial mind, key phrase, recover the awareness of the unconditioned primordial mind. So mundanity and conditioning has to do with the human mind that has been subjected to earth-based society, and humans in that society or in the world, their ideas on life, that their ideas are all that we encountered when we entered this world, this visible realm, are part of the conditioning. So it's not the original primordial mind content. That's a clearer thing. Recover the awareness of the unconditioned primordial mind is that it allows a more objective assessment of the value or otherwise of particular habits or patterns of behavior, and it allows leeway within which to modify behavior. What the complete reality Taoist strives for is to attain autonomy, the freedom to be or not to be, to do or not do, according to the needs of the situation at hand. In this sense, the adept is said to transcend yin and yang, yin and yang, however you want to say that. Reaching an undefinable state in which one does nothing yet does anything. For my students, that state might be representative of flow state, where the frontal lobe shuts down and then the brain becomes a receiver, not a computer, and it connects the human to the universal expansive energy. With people with EEGs attached to them when they are meditating and go to that place, they go to the flow, their frontal lobe shuts down. They could then connect non-locally to the universal energy. The EEG monitor goes crazy. It's not designed for that kind of load. Reaching an undefinable state in which one does nothing, yet does anything. In some cases, in some places in the literature, it will say does nothing, yet does everything. This is alluded to in the present text in expressions such as neither being nor non-being, neither material nor void. The accomplished Taoist in this sense is neither a worldling nor an otherworldly anchorite, but uses both involvement and withdrawal as necessary means to an ultimate balance and completeness. Another pair of important terms analogous to heaven and earth, which they use those two words a lot. Analogous to heaven and earth is the mind of Tao and the human mind. The mind of Tao being heaven or the celestial, the human mind being earth. According to the Sheng Ho Chai, the mind of Tao is the shining mind, while the human mind is the wandering mind. What the Daoist tries to do in these terms is to still the wandering and sustain the shining, effecting thereby a stabilization of lucid awareness. This practice is also suggested by another famous line of the Tao Te Ching, quote, empty the mind, fill the belly, which is interpreted to mean clearing the human mind of its ramblings and preoccupations and filling the center of the being, representing the focus of life, with the direct awareness of reality. The mind of Tao and the human mind are also associated with real knowledge and conscious knowledge. Real knowledge is held to be non-discursive, immediate knowing. It's the primordial heaven, celestial mind. Originally inherent in the human. That's the original inherent mind. Originally inherent in the human being and not the product of learning. Conscious knowledge is the everyday awareness of ordinary life, formed by training and experience. The Taoist aim is to open consciousness and thereby allow greater access to reality, bypassing mental habit, stabilizing conscious knowing by real knowledge so that it is not subject to distorting influences. This is also expressed in terms of making real knowledge conscious and conscious knowledge real. Real knowledge and conscious knowledge are in turn associated with sense and essence. Essence is the essence or fundamental nature of consciousness itself. Sense is its function. In the conditioned state, essence is frozen into personality, temperament, while sense wanders into feelings. The effort here is to join sense and essence. This may be described as developing a sense of real essence of mind and sensing reality directly from the essence of consciousness. Sensing reality directly from the essence of consciousness, rather than through the acquired psychological configurations of temperament. For my students, that would be called top-down knowledge. Interpreting things that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch from material that ideas we already have in our minds, which makes it um, confined to what we already knew. This is said to involve keeping consciousness open and fluid while clearing sense of subjective feelings. This means transcendence of restrictive mental fixations through the greater perspective afforded by the mind of Tao. Yin and Yang are also commonly defined as flexibility and firmness, and these terms are then applied to other yin yang associations. For example, the essence of conscious knowledge in the human mind is said to be flexible because it has not definite form originally. The sense of real knowledge in the mind of Tao is said to be firm because it is objective, unequivocal. The joining of these two means that the flexible consciousness, instead of conforming to the arbitrary influence of history and environment, is stabilized by the firmness of real knowledge. Without conscious knowing, it is said that there is no point of access to real knowing. Without real knowing, on the other hand, there is no stable objectivity of consciousness. The qualities of flexibility and firmness, of softness and hardness, have numerous other points of reference besides their application to the essence of conscious knowledge and the sense of real knowledge. In his Shen Shi Pa Fa, Li Aiming describes firmness as strength, sturdiness, decisiveness, keenness, incorruptibility, and indomitability. He also associates it with detachment, independence, serenity, will, consistency, dedication, and objectivity. As for flexibility, Liu defines this in terms of self-control, humility, consideration of others, simplicity, sincerity, modesty. He also refers to flexibility as tolerance, courtesy, self-examination, freedom from compulsive habit, contentment, and absence of random thought and imagination. All of these qualities and practices may thus be suggested by the simple terms yin and yang. In respect of these associations, it is the blending of yin and yang that is the aim. It is the blending of yin and yang that is the aim. And these forms of yin and yang are sometimes given the special name of true yin and true yang. Speaking in general terms about the need to balance flexibility and firmness, Liu Yiming, in his Wu Dao Lu, says that if one is always hard, one will be impetuous, aggressive, and impatient. On the other hand, if one is always soft, one will vacillate and be ineffective. Balance, he concludes, calls for firmness of will with flexibility in action, neither rushing ahead nor lagging behind. The correct balance of yin and yang in terms of these qualities and applications of firmness and flexibility is considered important both for social life as well as for spiritual life. In the context of spiritual practice, yin and yang also correspond to stillness and movement, both of which are used in complete reality. Training. Stillness may mean actual physical stillness, commonly used as an aid to achieving inner stillness. It is also used to mean the stilling of certain undesirable qualities such as vindictiveness and greed, and it is used to refer to a state of inward tranquility in the midst of action. Movement has a number of meanings in complete reality Daoist praxis. It may mean travel, physical exercise, psychosomatic exercise, or ordinary activity in the world. Charitable activities in particular are often given special emphasis as being an important part of the overall process of human development, encompassing inner benefit to oneself within outward benefit to others. A somewhat more subtle meaning of stillness and movement is essence and function of awareness. This association appears in the context of specific exercise described as silencing the mind to revert from function to essence until quiescence reaches a climax followed by spontaneous activation of the conscious potential formerly stifled by mental routine. One of the finer points of Daoist practice here is to discern the exact quality of the movement following stillness, to determine whether it is in fact movement of the primordial mind of Tao, or whether it is mixed with the acquired human mentality. According to the Taoist theory of blending and transcending yin and yang, in the final analysis, there is supposed to be no fixed duality between stillness and movement. In Liu Yiming's commentary on understanding reality, this balanced integration is referred to by means of an expression from the I Ching, quote, tranquil and unperturbed, yet sensitive and effective. And by common Taoist phrase, quote, always calm, yet always responsive, yet always calm. This is considered to be a basic aspect of the uniting of heaven and earth within humanity, a primary aim of Taoist practice. And I'll remind everybody that the way Taoists use the words heaven and earth is not like people would commonly use them. Heaven is the invisible realm of life energy, the essence, which is subtle nature, and earth is the earth that we do normally think of when we say heaven and earth. I felt that was important for me to reread today, and so I wanted to read that for everybody, because we've mentioned some of these terms throughout the term here and there, and they may be of benefit to other people. It's a constant process, constant, hopefully, progress. It's a continual thing to continue to clarify from the mundanity conditioning in society, and to allow the essential mind, the primordial pure mind, to be exposed more from that clearing, so that we recognize one another more in our true selves, our pure clear selves, and so that we offer one another love, unconditional love, zero conditions for acceptance of one another. It's a practice. It's one of my students likes to say, it's a practice that, like everything's a practice. So I wanted to read that much, and we'll revisit this. I will still also read more Dr. Erickson, his case notes, case stories. But thanks for joining me, and I hope you benefited from that. Let me know. Give me feedback as you wish. Thank you.